Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of UA Eats. I'm UA and I'm still in Philly today. I'm at perhaps the most touristy spot in all of Philly, besides the Liberty Bell, Independence Hall, and those historical stuff. I'm at the intersection of Passyunk and 9th Street, where the two places that claim to have invented the Philly cheesesteak are pretty much right across from each other. Pat's King of Steaks and Geno's Cheesesteaks. So that's Pat's King of Steaks over there. And as we showed earlier, that is Geno's. Now, it is kind of interesting when cities kind of have these competing restaurants that both claim to be the origin of a certain dish. When I was in LA last year, the birthplace of the French dip sandwich, there the claim was between Cole's versus Philippe's for who invented the French dip sandwich. And here in Philly, the famous Philly cheesesteak sandwich, it's between Pat's and Geno's. That is pretty much clear. What is interesting is that they both could be right depending on your interpretation. So Pat's is the place that claims to have invented putting steak on sandwich, while Geno's does not dispute that Pat's was the first to put steak on sandwich, but they claim to be the first place that put cheese on the steak, therefore making it a cheese steak. So I guess it really depends on your point of view there, like how specific you're gonna be for who invented the cheesesteak. If it were up to me, I would feel like I would probably give the edge to Geno's, because I feel like the steak with the cheese is what makes it a cheese steak, as opposed to, just a steak sandwich, which I feel like has been done many times. I don't know, I mean, I'm not a food historian, so I just feel like anyone could have made that up, Regardless, neither of these two places are the best cheesesteak in the city, not by a long shot. Both Pat's and Geno's may be historical places, but at this point, they're mostly historical, and to be honest, they're kind of tourist traps at this point. Locals don't really eat here unless you kind of just live down the street, but if you live anywhere else, your favorite local joint is guaranteed to be better than these. I actually grew up in suburban Philadelphia in South Jersey, so I can safely say with some authority that Pat's and Geno's are both tourist traps. But that being said, I don't really discourage anyone from checking these places out. I think it's something that everyone should do once, because it is a really cool corner here, and it's cool to come out here and stand in line at both restaurants, maybe get a cheesesteak from each, and compare them, see which one is your favorite. And yeah, if you're a sucker for food history like I am, then it is also cool to try a slice of history, or a sliced steak of history, you might say. So I haven't been to Pat's and Geno's in a long time now, maybe not in like 15 years, but I figured while back in Philly, I'll try it out. So what we'll do is we'll try Pat's first, the place that originated the steak sandwich. And then we'll try Geno's. We'll go in sequential order of which one started first. So let's check it out. You see, they're really claiming to be the first. And it is so unfortunate just how expensive cheesesteaks have become at this point. I remember back in the day, a cheesesteak would be on average $7 to $8, but now, I mean, it's not just that this is a touristy location. To see one for 12 to 13, 14 bucks, unfortunately, is becoming the norm. Angelo's that we went to yesterday was also about this price, maybe even a little bit more. So they pretty much just sell cheesesteaks here, not really anything else. Everything is just like a variation of the cheesesteak, like if you want like a pepper steak or mushroom or whatnot. So yeah, I guess let's just get a cheesesteak. Now actually, it seems like it's been so long since I've been here, I didn't even know that they only sell out of the truck across the street now. They no longer sell out of the actual building, which is kind of a shame. I'll just do a cheesesteak.
Next window for steak.
Oh, next window, okay. Hi, I'll just do a cheesesteak with fried onions, and yeah.
15.
All right. The line can usually get pretty long here, especially late at night. It's not too long today, but it's starting to pick up. And I asked the person working there, he said it's just that this building is under renovation, that's all. It's just being renovated, so it's not closed down. Guess I just got unlucky. But we'll return to the building to eat. All right, so we have our Pat's King of Steaks here, with a nice view of its competitor, Geno's Steaks. So if there's anything we find lacking about this, we can hope to find it across the street. So, you know, this wound up actually being a pleasant idea. It's been so long since I've eaten here. Like I said, it tends to be like a very touristy thing, or a thing that you bring people visiting out of town if they want that tourist experience, I guess, so to say. But it's actually a pretty nice spot. I mean, you can kind of eat completely around the whole restaurant. Late at night, you can also see the Geno's building really lit up and the line going around the block. So yeah, guys, you know, just because it's a tourist thing, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, you know? Tourist stuff can be fun, as long as you just do it once or twice. Well, let's open this guy up. It's already noticeably smaller than the cheesesteak we got at Angelo's. That one was humongous, so even though the price is similar, not quite getting your money's worth. And here we go. Our cheesesteak from Pat's King of Steaks. But this is a pretty decent looking steak, right? I mean, the default here is Cheese Whiz, but I believe you can request American or provolone if you wish. With the Cheese Whiz, it's that stereotypical yellow, slimy, oozy cheesesteak that everyone knows and loves. Bring it into the light a little bit, and you can see that the yellow color of the steak is even more apparent when there's good lighting. I gotta say, all things considered, I mean, this is definitely not considered one of the better cheesesteaks in the city. It's mostly historical.
Woodrow's on South Street is the best.
Woodrow's?
It's newer, so it's not as well known, but it's sick.
Oh, Woodrow's. I'll keep that in mind for sure.
For real.
Sounds good. Do you know if Jim's is back? Because it burned down, right?
It's not open yet. We walked by yesterday. We walked by. They're meant to open in August. Somewhere in August.
Well, always great to get some local tips. Now we have another one to try, Woodrow's. But to be honest, it's not looking terrible, actually. It's actually looking decent. I think better than I remembered. Maybe I almost have negative nostalgia, if that's like a thing, so. Ooh, I wish they had cut it in half. I don't know why they didn't do that. Usually that's like a standard thing to cut these cheesesteaks in half. But I guess let's just grab it and, oops, my paper's blowing away. But I guess let's just grab it with both hands and, all right. All right, first bite of the first cheesesteak ever.
I don't care, I could care less.
You know what? It's definitely decent. Like I said, compared to all the best cheesesteaks that I've had, Angelo's, D'Alessandro's, and now apparently Woodrow's, it doesn't really hold a candle to those. This kind of tastes more like your standard cheesesteak that you get from like a food cart, just any food cart in the city. But that being said, this is Philadelphia, so that's pretty good. The steak is really finely diced, which I like. I like when it's really, really thinly cut. Not only does it make it less chewy, but it also helps the cheese to really cover the steak pretty evenly, like reduce the surface area, so to say. I like when places use the nice soft Amoroso roll. Nice and soft with the perfect amount of chew to it. The onions, to be honest, I can't really taste that well. The onion flavor, if anything, is mostly like a, you know, like a background flavor rather than a star of the show like it is at some other places. So the onion flavor doesn't really come through much. The steak though, not bad. I mean, it kind of just tastes like your standard sliced ribeye steak. Not of particularly amazing quality, but decent quality nonetheless. I would say one thing that would help this a lot is if they seasoned the beef a little bit more, like a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper would really go a long way. I don't necessarily mind Cheese Whiz, but probably this would have been better with American cheese. This Cheese Whiz is a little bit watery, not as creamy and thick as I would like on a cheesesteak. But all in all though, guys, if you're visiting from out of town, if you've never had an authentic Philly cheesesteak before, actually, I'm pleasantly impressed and surprised. Pat's is actually a decent option. Like I said, don't expect it to be the best cheesesteak in the city, but if you want to experience some history while also getting a solid cheesesteak, like an average cheesesteak, which is good for anywhere else not Philadelphia, honestly, you could do worse than Pat's, I feel like. Okay, so actually, I'm getting more of the onion now. I feel like the onion just might not have been super even throughout, but I feel like it could stand to be grilled a little bit more. It's a little bit crunchy and watery, like it's slightly raw. I'm not saying it needs to be caramelized, but you know, grilled to be more soft at least. And while some of the beef is rather juicy, some of it is a little bit more dry. Just look at how much more succulent the beef looks in the light. than not in the light. But even in that yellow light, it's still, some of it looks slightly dry, right? So maybe a little bit more well done than I would like some of the strands. I shoved my wrapper in one of these holes because it's windy in Philly this weekend, so it doesn't blow away. But honestly, Pat's is not bad overall. I mean, as long as you set your expectations and you mostly go in for the cultural and historical experience, you definitely could do worse than Pat's is. Let's wrap this guy up and let's try Geno's now. The other claimant to inventor of the cheesesteak. Pat's should have filed like a cheesesteak copyright. I don't know if those are a thing, or they should be a thing if they're not. But let's see if Geno's is all it's cracked up to be. Ah, nice. Geno's is not doing renovation right now, so I can order from the actual restaurant and not a food truck like at Pat's. And it looks like the price is slightly lower here. And they also sell meatball sandwiches and Italian hoagies, so not just cheesesteaks like at Pat's. And it's cash only. Hi, just one cheesesteak with onions.
All right, with $14. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Thank you. I have found a table that's secluded enough. The other tables were pretty close to the counter, so I always am honest on this channel, but I also want to be polite, and it's hard to do that when people can, you know, when you're within earshot. But Geno's definitely has a nice bag, although I guess it's a little bit on the generic end. Not as classic looking, a little bit more modernized. Not necessarily in a good way. I feel like this logo, anyone could have thought of this. It's very, very simple, pretty much as simple as it gets. But yeah, Geno's is the place that claimed to be the first to put cheese on steak, not just steak on roll. So let's see how Geno's fares. And already there seem to be some differences. The Geno steak is more thickly sliced. It's not diced like at Pat's. Woo, it's actually just some big old slabs of steak, not even diced at all. Like they were just pulled off of the paper and just thrown right on the grill, and that's it. I think Tony Luke's does it this way as well, if I remember correctly. I'm not personally a fan of this. I like it when the steak is more diced. And because of that, the Cheese Whiz doesn't really penetrate the meat, so to say. Like it doesn't really cover the meat so evenly. It's kind of just still stuck on the sides of the bread as opposed to within the meat, getting a cheesy, meaty bite in every bite. Here, let me bring this into the light, just so I show you, just so I'm being fair and not playing like lighting tricks to make one look better than the other. But yeah, even in the light, it looks more appetizing, but the Pat's one that's more diced, I still prefer personally. All right, let's put Geno's to the test. And if you don't know, now Gino. Sorry, I'm a big Biggie fan. But bite number one. Okay, so the Pat's one actually tasted pretty solid. It was better than I remembered, but the Geno's one, it does kind of taste the way I remembered and not in a good way. Not really super impressed with this one. Obviously, it's up to personal preference, but I still find that the meat here needs to be diced. I don't like this strategy of just having a whole slice of meat intact. Like I said, the cheese doesn't get in between the meat. You don't get like a cheesy bite in every bite. And also, okay, I mean, interestingly, the meat comes apart more than I thought it would in my hands, but in your mouth, it's a little bit on the chewy end, maybe because a lot of it is stacked together. Maybe what it is that the meat is a little bit overcooked. It's a little bit dry. I thought that the Pat's one was a little bit on the dry end, but when it's diced, you get like some crispiness all around, lots of Maillard reaction, and you kind of get some crispy bits, and it can be pleasant in a way. But the Geno's one, it's kind of dry, but it's not really charred at all. Like it's just cooked to well done without much crust or anything. Similar to Pat's, it is under-seasoned to me. I feel that it could use some more salt and pepper, and I'm sure if I asked for salt and pepper, they would give it to me, but I don't like to do that, you know? It's better if they have the seasoning down so you don't have to fix it yourself. Let's see how these onions are, though. Okay, so at both Pat's and Gino's, the onions are a little bit raw. They could be cooked more to be more softened and not caramelized, but a little bit more grilled. But these onions at Gino's are just even more raw than at Pat's. Like that one that I ate was just almost flat out raw. Like I bit into it and there was that acidicness and wateriness and juiciness from a raw onion. And you know, raw onion can be nice. It can be decent on burgers, but on cheesesteaks, grilled onions are definitely superior. This one might be a little bit more cooked. Okay, so some are better than others, but some are very, very raw. Even that one that I just ate, the inside was pretty raw, even if the outside was more grilled. Let's try another bite and see if it changes our minds. Maybe let's eat this corner here that's a little bit more cheesy. That was definitely better. I think the cheese whiz is definitely better here. At Pat's, I found the cheese to be a little bit too watery, while here it's definitely more creamy, more thick, and what you really want from like a artificial cheese sauce. I just wish they had diced the meat so that that cheese sauce could really cover every bite of the meat and not just be relegated to the corners and the outsides of the sandwich. I'll quickly say though that both, I believe, are using the Amoroso roll, the nice chewy Amoroso Italian bread, so they both have the bread down at least. But guys, I think that's gonna be it for this video. Yesterday we ate at what's critically and locally regarded as one of the best cheesesteaks in the city, but I'm glad that I kinda finally came back after 15 years to Pat's and Gino's. It was a nice experience. The most fun part about coming here is that both of these historical and iconic cheesesteak spots are across the street from each other. If it's a video game, it kind of has replayable value because if you chose Pat's this time, you can choose Gino's next time and then kind of compare which you prefer. Or maybe some of your friends can go to Pat's and some can go to Gino's, and then you can compare and contrast and swap if you'd like. I think it's something that everyone should do at one point if they're ever in Philly. Now, time for my verdict. Pat's versus Gino's, I think you know the answer. They are right to call themselves king of steaks because in this case, Pat's is still the king of cheesesteaks when it comes to who's doing it best out of Pat's and Gino's. They invented the steak sandwich, although not necessarily with cheese, but once they added cheese, they perfected it more so than Gino's. So in my opinion, I'm giving the crown to Pat's king of steaks. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments if you prefer Pat's or Gino's. And what are your favorite places to get cheesesteaks in Philly? Is it John's Roast Pork? Is it Angelo's? Is it Ishkabibbles? Whatever. Let me know in the comments because great minds eat alike. And if you like my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. That way you stay up to date whenever I post another video. Until next time, I'll see you later.